Okay, so hello everybody and a very warm welcome to you all. Today's session is for our current offer holders in America who will be hopefully joining us in September 2025 at the University of Glasgow. Over the next couple of months, we're going to be sharing various videos to answer any questions you might have about studying here in Glasgow. And today's video is really just a short, bite-sized session introducing you to a few key topics that may be on your mind. I'm thrilled we've got several students with us on today's call. I'll ask each member of the student panel to introduce themselves and share why they chose the University of Glasgow. And so we're going to start with Alana.
Hi, my name's Alana, and I'm a third year here at Glasgow. I chose Glasgow just because I have an older cousin who lived abroad in Australia for like 7 years, and she thought that that was really life-changing. And I knew once I get into the actual working, I probably wasn't going to get to travel a lot, so why not do it for the program when you're able to do it and still go back to the States or stay here? So.
Great, thanks Alana. Handing over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Em. The reason why I chose Glasgow was during my undergraduate studies, I always wanted to study abroad, but unfortunately COVID hit. So when I got the opportunity through Glasgow to come over here, I jumped on it right away, and I've gotten so many opportunities that I would not have gotten in the States. So yeah.
Great, thanks Em. And now over to Hannah.
Hello, my name is Hannah. I'm in BVMS 3 as well. I chose Glasgow because I also wanted to travel, so killing two birds with one stone because I knew I wouldn't be able to travel when I started working as a vet. So,
Thanks Hannah. And Mary Kate.
Hi, my name is Mary Kate. I'm in BVMS 2. And I chose to come to Glasgow because I really enjoy the curriculum here and I like the structure of our schedule, which I think is a little bit different to the US schools.
Thanks Mary Kate. Shaden.
Hello, everyone. My name's Shaden, and I'm originally from Colorado. I went to Purdue University, and while I was studying there, I got to study abroad a lot, and it kind of gave me this love for just going abroad and seeing new places and learning about new places and people. So I got the opportunity to apply here. I only applied to Glasgow, but regardless of if I had applied anywhere else, I would have still chosen Glasgow. I've really loved having the world at my fingertips, and I've gotten a lot of opportunities to explore and go places and see new things. So I love it here.
Great, thanks Shaden. Stacey.
Hi, I'm Stacey. I'm a member of BVMS 3 as well. I chose the University of Glasgow because I actually kind of threw a dart at a board and was like, where can I go? But also I decided to come here because of the opportunity to not only be accredited to practice in the US, but as well as practicing abroad. I thought that was really cool. So I can kind of do travel vet work as well as travel even within the degree. But that was kind of one of my main reasons for coming over here and just a new experience.
Great, thanks Stacey. And last but not least, Yusuf.
Hi, I'm Yusuf. I'm in BVMS 2, and I'm similar to Stacy. I wanted to have the ability, once I graduate from Glasgow, you can practice ability practice in Europe, in the UK, pretty sure parts of Australia and the US. So it gives you a lot of freedom to kind of pick where you can work after vet school because sometimes we're indecisive and we just don't know what we want to do.
Great, thanks so much, everybody. So today's first topic is accommodation. And in Glasgow, there's lots of different options to choose from. And so we're going to hear about a couple of accommodation experiences, and we're going to start with Alana.
Okay, so hi again, you guys. I'm going to be talking about, so in my first year, I lived in the West End, which for people who haven't been to Glasgow, the West End is closer to the main university, which is like 2.5 miles from Vet Campus. But there's a lot more like downtown of a feel to the West End, especially like over in the Partick and like Great, not Great West, Byers Road area, just because it's where a lot of the main uni kids live. And so you have a lot of small shops and stuff. And there's a lot of cafes. Basically, you can just kind of do whatever you want over there. It is 2.5 miles from the vet campus. So, but it's walkable. It's not a terrible walk. I did it a fair amount, especially when the weather's nice. And there are buses and the train that you can take in to the vet campus every day. There's a train station here in Annie's Land, so you can just hop on in the train station in Partick, depending on how close you are to that. And it's just a quick train ride up, and then you walk to campus from there. Or there are a few different bus lines. So the 15 runs pretty much straight through by the main university to the vet campus. And it's probably only like a 25-minute drive unless traffic's terrible for some reason. And they run twice an hour, which is great now. That didn't used to be a thing when I was a first year, but it runs twice an hour pretty much from like 8 in the morning, maybe 7:30 to well past like 11 o'clock at night now. So
great, thanks so much, Alana. And so we're going to hear now from Stacey, who's going to sort of share a bit more information and maybe things for offer holders to consider.
Yeah, so a big thing to consider when you start to kind of come over and decide your accommodation is obviously if you want to live super close to the university or if you want to live a bit further away, if you have pets, which I know Yusuf will touch on a lot more later, but as well as if you want roommates, if you want to live by yourself. It's really hard, especially when you're coming over here the first time, to be like, oh my gosh, if I want a roommate, how do I find a roommate? The great thing is once you decide to accept your offer to the University of Glasgow, we actually have a Facebook page that is run by the veterinary students that you can get access to. Usually they try to get the new members access in like April, May-ish. Sometimes it ends up being a little bit later, but they are students, they're studying, so don't hate us too much for that. But then you can see kind of what's available. There might be final years that are moving out of their flats at that time that you can start looking for things. My biggest tip would be look kind of earlier than you would expect to look, just because you don't want to be starting to look in August and everything's gone so we all live kind of in Annie's Land now and stuff like that. I lived in Mary Hill my first year. It wasn't terrible. It was just a longer walk away. And depending on kind of areas, there may not be the best part of Glasgow, but for the most part, Glasgow's super friendly. And so you're really not going to have that big of a deal with anything. But like Alana said, consider transit times, consider everything like that. Consider if you want to live alone, consider your budget. Flats right now, it seems like they're going for about £1,000 for a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, I would probably say. And then other than that, you're kind of looking in that range even for a 1-bedroom, 1 bath. So yeah, so just kind of consider all your factors. And then if you're having over 3 people, just make sure that you have an HMO.
Great, that's really useful, everybody. And I think that's something there'll be more sort of information about accommodation and the options for our offer holders. And then obviously, Shaden, you're a first year currently, so if maybe you can share your experience and sort of the choice you made coming over.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did travel abroad, and I did have some experiences in different countries, but I find international housing to be extremely intimidating. So I chose the safe option, which is to live in the dorm that's the closest to the vet school. It's called Wolfson Hall. It's definitely a great option for incoming first year students because it's right next to the vet campus. So you have like the vet campus and then about a 15-minute walk is Wolfson, but it's all kind of in the same general vicinity, which I think is really nice. So I felt like this was a really good way to kind of just like feel secure in starting vet school. I didn't have to stress about housing like right up till getting here because when you're signing up for Wolfson, you need to do it in April when they start to open the housing applications. So if you do wish to live in Wolfson, definitely start looking at it immediately after accepting your offer. And then that way you can kind of look through the pictures. We might post like a tour guide for Wolfson coming up in the next few weeks. So if you want to look at that, that could be helpful. But ultimately for me, for Wolfson, just like I'm going to share some of the pros and cons that I've had about it. So in terms of like benefits to my own studying, Wolfson allowed me to kind of not worry about some of the mundane life things that come with living in a new country, like shopping and finding food and cooking. When you live at Wolfson, they provide you 2 meals a day, which are honestly really good. And I don't even really feel hungry outside of that. So it's perfect for me. And that gives me time to really focus on studying and kind of adapting to the new schedule that you will have when you get here. So I felt like it helped me to work out some of my study habits and not have that huge time conflict. The 15-minute walk is super nice for clearing your head after you've sat in class for 4 hours. So definitely don't worry about that. It's not a bad walk at all. And also, only 5 minutes away from Wolfson, there's a gym. So if you are someone who likes to work out, then there's a really good opportunity to pay the student membership and just go over to the gym and work out. In terms of the rooms, they are furnished and they have really good desk space as well as storage. So even though it's small and kind of like a closet, I don't have any I don't have any trouble storing any of my stuff. And I would definitely recommend the en-suites, which have a shower in your own room. So if you're looking at Wolfson, do that. As far as other benefits, you get to meet other vet students. That can be really hard when you first move to a new program. So that's a good benefit of living here. And you don't just meet other vet students, it's also other students at the university. So if you like to have friends, people to potentially go out with, that's really nice. And finally, the staff here is incredibly sweet and lovely, and they'll do their best to make sure that you're comfortable and that everything that you personally need, such as dietary stuff and maintenance, is taken care of. So I love it here. I will be moving somewhere else next year just because I would like to go and live in Annie's Land. But for getting started here in Glasgow, it was probably one of the best decisions I made.
Great. Thanks so much, Shaden. Thanks, everybody. That's offered lots of information and lots of starting points and thinking points. So the second topic we're going to think about is visas, which I know is something that lots of our potential future students have questions about. So this is quite a nice way to just sort of introduce some of those ideas. So if you could maybe start the discussion about this topic.
Yeah, sure. So hello again. I know that visa stuff can be super stressful because all of us have gone through it. And it seems like quite the daunting process, but as long as you start early, kind of keep organized, it's really not that bad. So the main tips that I would probably give, first, if you just look up student visa application UK, it will bring you to the government website and it has all the information you need there and the application itself. So once you find that and you've decided that you're going to come to Glasgow, definitely start that application as soon as possible. You should be able to start it 6 months before your start date at school, so you have plenty of time to fill that out and get it sent in. From there, you will have to have a biometrics meeting. It's basically they're taking your picture, taking your fingerprints, you're giving them some documents, including your passport, and at that point, they're going to send that information off to a visa application processing place where they will confirm or deny and then send back the information that you need. Just make sure that you budget for your visa. It's definitely an investment for sure. You have to pay for the visa itself as well as kind of like a healthcare charge, and it can be a few $1,000s. So just keep that in mind when you are filling out that application. And if you're having trouble with it, do not worry. A lot of people hit bumps when they're filling out their visa application and getting it. I myself didn't get my visa until like 5 days before I left for the UK, and I was panicking. But if you don't get it in time, or if you fill something out wrong, there are plenty of resources that you can reach out to, including the Visa and Immigration Office for the UK, as well as admissions. If you tell them that you're having issues, they're very understanding and here to help you. So they'll point you into the right direction for resources and what you need to do.
Great, thanks, Em. Really comprehensive. And Mary Kate, was there any other top pieces or key information that you think is important for students to know about visas, or if you want to talk about something else, not a problem at all?
I think Em covered a lot of it, but for the cost of the visa, and this is a little variable depending on who you're coming over with and your previous health concerns, but right now it's £490 for the visa itself. And then coming for the US, if you're over 18 and you're by yourself and on a full-time student visa, it's around 4,300 pounds. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then on the visa, you can work 20 hours a week during term time, or you can work full-time when school is not in session. So I think that's something to keep in mind too, especially if you're someone who's looking to like have a job when you come over. And then you can start the application process up to 6 months before you come here, but you do need your confirmation of acceptance of studies from the school first, or it's called a CAS. And that says from the school that you are accepted here, and then you can start your application process. And that also has a lot of detail on it about the cost of school, which sometimes is also important when getting your visa. Typically, all you need from the US for your visa is your passport, and then you need your CAS, but sometimes they may require additional information like how you plan to pay for your schooling. And that's just like a case-by-case situation. So it's good to know how much you're looking to spend, and that's available on the CAS as well. And then something a little bit new with the e-visas, you do still get your biometric appointment and you get your fingerprints, but they also are rolling out the Immigration ID Check app. So that's something to keep an eye out for too. That's just on your phone, and that's more related to the e-visas. And I did double check with the passport and border control last time I was in the airport, and the e-visas, once activated, should just be automatically loaded onto your passport, which is really nice, and a little bit easier than the BRP was. And then when you are submitting your visa, you should get a decision within 3 weeks, and they will reach out if they think it will take a little bit longer. So you don't need to panic unless, well, and even if you hear from them, you don't need to panic. And then I personally didn't have to do this, but some people do have to. If you're bringing a dependent, so a partner or a child, you may just have to provide like a birth certificate or proof that you're married, so marriage certificate. And there will be other costs associated with that as well. I think that's just something to keep in mind.
Thanks, Mary Kate. Thanks, both of you. That's really, really helpful advice. And then our last topic for today's session is just the sort of general transition from the US to Glasgow. And Yusuf, if you could maybe start off with your experience.
Yeah, so I came from sunny Los Angeles to Scotland, which honestly I didn't even know where it was on the map until I right before I got here. But it was really just kind of surreal landing in Glasgow and being like, this is where I'm gonna be. I think the besides the actual stress of moving and the physical aspect of it, you don't know what you don't know until you get here. And I think we all have little things like that that we all came across, and like setting up the Wi-Fi, it's different. They take 3 weeks to set up Wi-Fi versus in America, you get Wi-Fi set up in like a day. And then even going into the grocery store, things are called different things here. And if you walk with your American accent, you say something, people are like, "What are you talking about?" So it's kind of more of like a fun growing experience, if you will. And I think something we had talked about too is like if you do private housing, for example, which is what I did because I brought my dog with me, so the dorms weren't an option. But you either some landlords or companies require you to pay 6 months up front, or some require you to have a Scottish guarantor. So there's little tidbits about the system that you kind of have to learn, and it's not impossible. And luckily, the school's a really good support system. They can act as your guarantor. Then you also have other students who have gone through similar things. So that in itself is really nice. And Glasgow's really accessible and everything's really easy to get around to. So the transition's pretty easy in that sense of getting around. And something that was more of a something that's probably people are gonna do is bring their pets over. So I brought my dog with me, Remy, and he is about like 50 pounds. So he was a bigger dog, which had different problems than let's say you bring a smaller dog or a cat. And that in itself, we have to do health certificate. You have to make sure everything's all cleared. And with dogs specifically, they have to be dewormed by a certain dewormer within 48 hours before entering, or 72 hours before entering the UK. And I had to pay a company to do that, like to do the actual process for me. You can't do it on your own. I tried, and that is an added cost as well. I believe it cost me around $6,000 to bring him. So it is a definite big budget that you have to account for. And even if you're bringing something as small as a cat or a small dog, it can range anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000. So that is a really important thing to consider if you are planning on bringing a pet. And my personal experience was really good with Remy because I chose for him to get delivered basically to my house, and the company I chose was really nice and everything like that. So that was the big thing about bringing my dog and my personal transition.
Great, thanks so much. And Hannah, how about you?
Yeah, so I had a little bit easier of a transition because I'm from Connecticut and New England in the States. So similar weather, it's always cold there. So didn't have much of an issue there. I think the hardest thing for me in my transition was being away from my friends and family because I did go to the University of Connecticut. I'm from Connecticut. So I've never lived abroad and really didn't live that far from home. So I would say kind of checking in with your friends and family as much as you can, FaceTiming, text messaging, just keeping in touch with them really makes things easier and feels like you're still connected to them. And then something else about my transition, when I got a car here, it made my life 10 times easier. I know a lot of people don't get a car and you don't have to get a car, but if it's something you can budget for and budget with your loans and take that little bit extra out of your loans to get a car, I definitely recommend it. Yeah.
Great, thanks so much, Hannah. So thanks everybody, really great stories and lots of interesting information to get our sort of offer holders started. And so just before we finish today's session, I just wonder if everybody could share maybe their top tip for future students, maybe their top tip either for things over the next couple of months or maybe their top tip for when they begin the University of Glasgow. And we're going to start with Alana.
So my top tip would just to be flexible. It's a long process. You have a lot of stuff that you're going to be stressing about over the next few months, and especially when you get here, it's stressful. So if one or two things like doesn't go exactly how you planned, just roll with it. Take it as you can. Like stressing yourself out and like not being able to just roll with the punches is really just gonna make it a little bit more stressful for you than it already is gonna be. So
Great, thanks, Alana. Emma?
Yeah, I think my advice would just be don't be too hard on yourself. This is a completely new and different experience than anything you've probably done in your life before. So just know that it's probably going to get a little complicated. You're not going to know everything, but just take it step by step and you will definitely get through it.
Thanks, Em. Hannah?
So my top tip is to just not pack as many things as you think you'll need because I have so many things here that I never even use and I'm gonna have to figure out how to get them back to the States at some point. So don't bring as much stuff as you think.
Great, thanks, Hannah. Mary Kate?
My top tip would be just to be open to trying new things throughout the whole process, but especially when you get here too, you may end up loving something that you thought you wouldn't like. So just say yes to new things when you're here.
Thanks, Mary Kate. Shaden?
Yeah, so I'd say, especially in the coming months, if you know that Scotland is your in destination and that you're going to be a vet student here in the fall, start budgeting now. If you have a job, start saving money. There's a lot of unexpected costs, and one thing that you'll find out if you accept your offer is that you won't get your loan money until October. So there can be a weird period of like August to October where a lot of students would typically expect to have loan money and you don't. I know that I personally tried to take less loan money and I faced the consequences of having to pay the visa cost and then not having very much funding to go from August to October with. So if you're planning on coming and you have a job, start saving. No money is too much money. So make that bank account work for you and good luck.
Great, thanks, Shaden. So start saving, everybody. Stacey?
My biggest thing is when you actually decide to come here is to get involved. I got involved really early on when I came to Glasgow and I enjoy every minute of it. So get involved. We have SAVMA on campus that is the Student American Veterinary Association. So it's a really, really good way to connect with other Americans. You can still kind of get that networking down while you're still in school. So it's a nice way to do that. And then we also have GovMA, which is a good way to get involved with the entire school. Every club is under GovMA. We have so many clubs. I think we are one of the top universities for the veterinary schools that has like the most clubs on campus. So it's one of those things where there's endless opportunities to get involved. So you'll find something that you like. Just try it all.
Thanks, Stacey. And finally, Yusuf, your words of wisdom.
I don't know about wisdom, but I think kind of just it's a surreal experience. And don't like I think everyone said like don't be so hard on yourself. It's a new country at the same time, and you are learning things all the time besides also being in vet school, and it's really cool. And I'm a second year, and it's still a year later, and I still look on the wrong side of the road because they do drive on the opposite side of the road. In case you guys didn't know that, like I did, so things are gonna come at you all the time, and it's a learning curve, but it's like the best thing ever. And you'll look back after that stressful time of moving, and you're like, I did that. So if you can do that, you can do anything.
Great, thanks so much. So once again, thank you all so much for your time. And sort of over the next couple of months, we're going to sort of be doing more sort of videos and opportunities for us to sort of work with our American offer holders to support them with those next steps. So thank you, and I'm sure the offer holders will really appreciate it. And to our current offer holders, if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to send us an email on the vet-admissions@glasgow.ac.uk admissions email address. So thanks everybody, and have a good rest of your day.